Hello, everyone. Welcome to Moonlit Stories. Today, I'll share a story about a woman who was betrayed, killed, and given a second chance at life. This time, she refuses to be a pawn, and instead uses her wit to turn enemies into allies, survive the deadly palace, and capture the heart of the most feared emperor. So, without further ado, let's begin.
My father called off my engagement and ordered me to enter the imperial selection. I refused. Everyone knew the emperor was ruthless. One day he rewarded you. The next day, you could disappear. Besides, my fiancé and I had grown up together. He'd sworn I would be his one and only. Before I could say another word, slap. My stepmother's hand landed across my face. The engagement is over. You're just the daughter of a concubine. Whether you like it or not, you're going to the palace. Then my father stepped in with his fake kindness. Do this for the family. Once you're inside, I'll finally recognize your late mother's place in the family memorial. We'll help you rise all the way to Empress. Deal. I had no choice. So I went. But on the way to the palace, everything came rushing back. It was like waking from a nightmare. I finally remembered the truth. My father had never planned to help me. I was nothing more than a pawn. He wanted me to fight every woman in the palace, climb to the top, and clear the path for my half-sister. Once I became the emperor's favorite, my half-sister would enter the palace, steal the crown, and become empress. As for me, one poison drink. Game over. Standing before the emperor, I suddenly spoke. Your Majesty, I have something important to tell you. Could we speak in private? The hall fell silent. Every eye turned to me. My father's secret ally in the palace instantly went pale. What was I doing? The emperor smiled instead. Come closer. When I was only a few steps away, I lowered my voice. My father has been secretly working with Prince 8. I spoke so softly that the emperor leaned in. What did you say? What are the Prime Minister and Prince 8 planning? That was the moment. I ripped the jeweled hairpin from my hair and drove it straight into his chest. Blood splashed across my face. I laughed like I'd lost my mind. My father sent me here to kill you. He wanted you dead. Only then did the stunned attendants react. Assassin! Protect His Majesty. The guards rushed in. Blades flashed. Pain tore through my body. Blood filled my throat. As I collapsed, the emperor used his last strength to give one final order. Execute the Prime Minister's entire household. And Prince 8. Immediately, I smiled. Perfect. If I had to die, they were coming with me. My last breath escaped. Then my soul drifted above the palace. I watched soldiers drag my father, my stepmother, and my half-sister to their knees. For the first time, they looked terrified. One swing, then another. The heads rolled across the ground. Justice had finally arrived. A family should stay together, even on the road to hell. A flash of white swallowed everything. I thought I was finally moving on. Instead, I opened my eyes, back at the imperial selection. Wait, you're kidding me. I wasn't brave enough to stab the emperor again. Dying once was more than enough. This time, I wanted to stay alive, and I wanted to watch everyone who betrayed me suffer instead. Taking them down with me? That was the worst possible ending. Lost in thought, I followed the other young ladies into the grand hall. The emperor lazily looked us over. Then his eyes landed on me. He froze. Almost instinctively, he touched his chest. Who is she? I blinked. Did he remember being stabbed in my previous life? An attendant quietly answered. Su Fu, the Prime Minister's daughter by a concubine. The emperor stared at me for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. She stays. Grant her the title of noble lady. Assign her to Yonghe Palace. I was stunned. Last time I had started at the very bottom. So, why was everything changing? Then it hit me. The emperor had always fallen for one type. Pure. Gentle. Innocent. Exactly like my half-sister. I lowered my eyes. An innocent little flower? Please. Anyone can act. I bit my lip, let my lashes tremble, and shyly looked up at him. Thank you, Your Majesty. A breeze lifted my hair. Too bad, I wasn't wearing white today. The effect would have been perfect. The interest in his eyes deepened. That very night, he summoned me. The palace maids bathed me, dressed me in soft silk, and tucked me into the emperor's bed like the world's fanciest gift. I stared at the canopy overhead, planning my next move. If acting innocent was the key, then I'd be the sweetest girl in the entire palace. The door creaked open. The emperor walked in. In the warm candlelight, he looked unbelievably handsome. No wonder the palace was full of women fighting over him. For a second, I wasn't sure who was supposed to be tempting whom. I sat up. The blanket slipped slightly from my shoulder. Your Majesty. My voice was as soft as a whisper. He looked at me without changing his expression. Take her out. Execute her. My eyes instantly turned red. No need. I'll leave on my own. Seeing Your Majesty one last time is enough for me. He raised an eyebrow. Then he laughed. I was joking. You couldn't tell? Right. Because threatening to kill people was apparently funny. I smiled anyway. Then I stepped forward and gently wrapped my arms around him. His body stiffened immediately. If it's only a joke, we shouldn't waste such a beautiful night. I reached up and slowly untied his outer robe. One layer, then another. The room grew so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Just as my fingers reached his last layer of clothing, he suddenly caught my wrist. His dark eyes gave nothing away. I'm tired. Let's get some sleep. Seriously? After all that? Fine. I could wait. I lay there, pretending to sleep. Hours passed. The palace was silent. The emperor beside me seemed fast asleep. I glanced over. A slow smile spread across my face. Then, a bold idea popped into my head. If changing fate meant changing the story, then, tonight, I wasn't leaving empty-handed. Good news. Mission accomplished. Bad news. It hurt so much I almost passed out. Seriously? Nobody ever mentioned this part. I grumbled and tried to sit up. The emperor suddenly opened his eyes, rolled over, and pinned me with a cold look. Lady Sue, you really have no fear. Actually, I knew exactly what death felt like. I'd already lived it once. By the time the palace maids had come in and out 3 times, I finally blacked out from exhaustion. The next morning, my personal maid Xiao Tao beamed. Congratulations, Your Ladyship. His Majesty has promoted you to Consort Sue. I rubbed my aching waist and stayed quiet. A young attendant brought me a bowl of herbal medicine. I drank it without hesitation. I just entered the palace. Now was definitely not the time to have a child. Soon after, servants delivered jewelry, fine silk, and all kinds of expensive gifts. The whole palace started whispering. Everyone said I had become the emperor's new favorite. My father couldn't sit still anymore. Letter after letter arrived, urging me to use my influence to get rid of the other consorts. I couldn't help laughing. The palace was filled with noble women from the most powerful families in the empire. They all had powerful relatives behind them. And me? I was just the daughter of a concubine. Who exactly did he think I could take down? I wrote back. The palace is heavily guarded. Nothing can be rushed. Building the right connections takes money. In other words, send cash. My father immediately sent a fortune, along with another letter telling me to hurry. I happily accepted it, then wrote back again. Everyone in the palace is cautious. No one is willing to help without proper rewards. Translation. Still not enough. My father sent even more. No wonder he'd gotten rich. After several rounds of this, he finally refused to send another cent. Didn't matter. I'd already collected a small fortune. Not bad at all. Ever since that night, the emperor never returned to Yonghe Palace. Before he left, though, he asked, "What reward do you want?" I blinked. I'd like 10 senior palace matrons. He stopped walking. Palace matrons? I nodded sincerely. I'm new here. I don't know all the palace rules. They'll help keep me out of trouble. He agreed, without another question. From then on, those 10 matrons followed me everywhere. My father wanted me to start palace wars. He wanted me to destroy every powerful consort standing in my half-sister's way. Too bad. I wasn't playing his game. Even if I never became the emperor's favorite, my half-sister wasn't getting the throne so easily either. Still, avoiding trouble didn't mean trouble would avoid me. One afternoon, I was walking beside the lake when Consort Jing suddenly rushed toward me. She froze the moment she saw the crowd behind me. Lady Sue, why do you have so many people with you? I smiled behind the matrons. I like company. Her eyes darted around. Then, let's take a walk together. A few steps later, we ran into Consort Ning. She looked worried. The jade bracelet Her Majesty gifted me is missing. Have either of you seen it? We both shook our heads. One of her maids suddenly spoke up. Your ladyship, I saw someone from Yonghe Palace acting suspiciously near our residence yesterday. Consort Ning immediately snapped. Enough! The maid dropped to her knees. I only meant perhaps Yonghe Palace should be searched. Consort Ning looked at me. Lady Sue, do you object? I stayed silent for a moment. Their little act was surprisingly convincing. Consort Jing smiled. If you're innocent, you have nothing to fear. I smiled back. Of course. No objections. The two of them turned around with confident smiles. They clearly believed someone would find something inside my palace. Too bad for them. The attendants searched again. And again. Nothing. The experienced matrons the Emperor had assigned me truly earned their keep. Over the past few days, they'd already discovered hidden charms, suspicious personal belongings, secret letters, forbidden incense, and even snacks that had been tampered with. Without them, I'd probably have been framed 10 times already. To make things even better, before the search began, the matrons insisted on checking every attendant first, just in case anyone tried to sneak something inside. Brilliant! Consort Ning's face darkened with every passing minute. Her maid was shaking. Someone had to take responsibility for making a false accusation. And it certainly wasn't going to be me. Everyone expected me to strike back. Instead, I blinked innocently. Consort Ning, it looks like your bracelet isn't here after all. Don't be upset. I have a gift for you. Before she could refuse, I placed a beautiful jade hairpin into her hair. She stood there in shock. She'd expected revenge, not kindness. Consort Jing snorted. You really know how to win people over. I smiled and placed a large pearl into her hand. This is for you too. A little welcome gift. The corners of her lips lifted before she realized it. We're all sisters here. You didn't have to. Of course, a few gifts weren't enough to buy anyone's loyalty. But if I kept giving them, that was a different story. Besides, I had plenty of money. If I wasn't spending it on them, what else was I going to do with it? For the time being, the palace finally enjoyed a rare moment of peace. By the palace wall, I spotted a skinny stray cat. It was nothing but skin and bones. I crouched down, broke a sweet pastry into tiny pieces, and held them out in my palm. The little cat took a cautious step back, letting out a soft growl. Don't be scared, I whispered with a smile. Go ahead. Eat. After a moment of hesitation, it finally crept closer and gently licked the crumbs from my hand. Its tiny rough tongue tickled my palm. I couldn't help laughing. Take your time. There's plenty more. I'll come feed you every day, okay? The cat purred softly. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a flash of bright yellow robes disappearing behind a corner. Nearby, 2 long lines of ants were carrying their eggs uphill. One of the matrons was about to wash them away. I quickly stopped her. Don't. They're moving their nest. It's going to rain. She looked confused. But your ladyship. I crouched beside the ants. Let them finish. If the eggs are left behind, they'll be washed away. The emperor finally stepped out from behind the corner. If they die, they die. They're only ants. You care that much? I gave him a respectful bow and smiled. Your Majesty, they may be tiny, but they're trying just as hard to survive as we are. Why make life harder for them? He fell silent. His fingers slowly turned the jade ring on his thumb. I heard one of your attendants was caught stealing. Yesterday, a young attendant had been caught taking one of my hairpins. I nodded. I had him punished. The emperor looked at me calmly, too lightly. If you're this soft-hearted, how will anyone respect your authority? I answered without hesitation. He stole because his mother was seriously ill. I couldn't ignore that. But if someone steals out of pure greed, I won't show any mercy. He let out a quiet laugh. You're too easy to read. Kindness is often mistaken for weakness in this palace. I blinked. But I have your majesty. I paused, then smiled sweetly. You're the wisest ruler in the empire. As long as you're here, I have nothing to fear. His fingers stopped moving. He stared at me for a long moment. Everyone calls me a tyrant, but you call me wise. Lady Sue, you really know what to say. My cheeks turned pink. I only said what I truly feel. For the first time, he looked a little awkward. He cleared his throat. Just then, the breeze faded. Light rain began to fall. Mist-like drops drifted across the lake, onto the rooftops, flowers, and stone paths. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. I twisted my handkerchief nervously. Your Majesty, will you visit Yonghe Palace tonight? He waved a hand. I have work to do. Maybe another time. I lowered my head. I understand. Looks like this wasn't enough to win his heart. After that, I had soup delivered to him every day. I even made scented sachets by hand. Sometimes, I'd send him a few overly dramatic love poems. Everyone praises the spring breeze, but I face the moon alone. My longing grows before I can even speak. One lonely cup beneath the lamp, and another season slips away. A month later, the emperor finally came back to Yonghe Palace. The moment he walked in, he froze. I was sitting with Consort Ning, Consort Jing, and Consort Lin. The four of us were happily playing cards. Tiny piles of gold tokens sat in front of everyone. Mine was by far the smallest. The other three were laughing so hard they could barely breathe. After greeting the emperor, they quickly gathered up their winnings and slipped away. Lady Sue, let's play again another day. We won't interrupt you and His Majesty. I waved at them. Deal. Next time I'm winning everything back. Soon, only the emperor and I remained. He casually picked up one of the gold tokens and smirked. So, is this the lonely sadness? The endless longing? And the heartbreak you wrote about? I wasn't embarrassed at all. I was lonely. So, I invited everyone over. He looked at my tiny pile of gold. You've nearly lost all your spending money. I smiled. I like spending time with them, even if I lose every coin. It's worth it. His eyes searched my face carefully, as if trying to figure out whether I actually meant it. After all, anyone who thought like that had to be either incredibly kind or incredibly foolish. I pretended not to notice. Instead, I gently took his hands. The moment our fingers touched, I frowned. Your Majesty, your hands are freezing. I carefully rubbed them between my palms, then breathed warm air onto them. He didn't say a word. He only watched me. Moonlight poured through the window. The candlelight flickered softly. The scent of blooming pear blossoms drifted into the room. I looked up at him. Then let me keep you warm. My voice was barely above a whisper. My eyes were filled with nothing but sincere affection. I gently rested my hand against his chest. His heartbeat was steady and strong. Thump, thump, thump. Suddenly, he stepped back. He pulled his hand away and turned toward the door. I still have work. You should get some rest. Watching him leave, he almost looked like he was running away.
Why?
I'd thought he planned to stay the night. During the past month, he hadn't visited any other consort. I was still the only woman he'd ever chosen. So, why was he avoiding me? The next morning, another imperial decree arrived. I had been promoted again, this time to Consort Zhao. Even more surprising, the emperor personally granted me the honorary title Zhao, meaning bright. His chief attendant smiled as he delivered the news. Her Majesty Consort Zhao. His Majesty has a message. If you enjoy playing cards, keep playing. He'll cover the stakes. If you win, the money is yours. If you lose, he'll pay. I honestly couldn't figure out what he was thinking. News spread through the palace overnight. Everyone said I was the emperor's favorite. No one else could compare. When my stepmother saw that I was getting along with the other consorts and enjoying the emperor's favor, she finally lost her patience. Letters from home kept arriving. Since none of them came with money, I ignored every single one. Not long after, my stepmother entered the palace under the excuse of visiting me. She brought my half-sister, Su Wan, with her. And that was when Su Wan finally met the emperor. The sweet scent of blooming pagoda trees drifted through the palace. Su Wan stood quietly beneath the corridor. She wore a simple pale dress, with only a jade hairpin in her hair. Elegant, gentle, the very picture of innocence. The emperor walked over in his golden robes.
Tall, calm.
His eyes swept across everyone. Su Ruan's heart pounded. She waited for him to notice her. Instead, his gaze passed right over the crowd. It landed on me. I was standing by the pond, scattering fish food into the water. Bright koi rushed over, splashing water onto my skirt. I smiled as I watched them fight for the food. I never noticed. The emperor had been watching me the whole time. Su Ruan clenched her fists. How rude. My sister didn't even greet your majesty. Only then did the emperor look at her. And you are? Joy flashed across her face. She bowed gracefully. I'm Su Ruan, the prime minister's eldest daughter. He nodded. I see. You dared disrespect consort Zhao. Take her away. 20 slaps. Su Ruan froze. Your majesty. 2 attendants stepped forward and grabbed her. Panicked, she shouted her biggest secret. Do you remember when you were a child? You were injured and saved by a little girl. That girl was me. The emperor paused. It was you. She nodded eagerly. Yes. I gave you food. I also had a doctor treat your injuries. His eyes darkened. Just then, my stepmother dragged me over. She shoved me forward. Your majesty. She's the one who had your leg injured back then.
Wait, what?
Was I really that awful? I searched my memory. Then I remembered. I was 7. During a festival, a dirty little beggar grabbed my dress. He wouldn't let go. No matter how hard I pulled, the dress ripped apart. It was the last dress my mother had sewn for me before she passed away. I burst into tears. I kicked him. A servant rushed over, thought I was being bullied, and attacked the boy. I never imagined that little beggar had been the emperor. No wonder my family had pushed me into the palace without fear. They had been holding this secret all along. Cold sweat covered my back. I dropped to my knees. Your majesty. I was only a child. Before I could finish, the emperor pulled me back to my feet. I know your character. You would never have ordered anyone to hurt me. Months of acting sweet and innocent had finally paid off. I quietly nodded, then leaned against his arm. Hidden from his view, I smiled at my stepmother and Su Ruan. Their faces went stiff. That was it? He was just letting it go? His leg had been badly injured. Most people would never forgive something like that. Su Ruan stared at me with jealousy. She could finally see how much the emperor trusted me. If only she knew. He rarely even visited my palace. In fact, he quietly stepped away from me the next second. I had no choice but to stand up straight again. He cleared his throat and turned to Su Ruan. You helped me once. What reward do you want? She bowed softly. I don't want wealth. I don't want power. I only have one wish. I wish to stay by your majesty's side. A gentle breeze lifted a few strands of her hair. She looked graceful and sincere. The emperor studied her for a moment, then smiled. Very well. I'll grant your wish. The pride in her eyes was impossible to hide. After the emperor left, my stepmother looked at me with a smug smile. When Su Ruan enters the palace, you will help her. We're family. We succeed together. I lowered my eyes. When have you ever treated me like family? She opened her mouth to argue. Su Ruan stopped her. I don't need her help. The emperor clearly likes me. She only caught his attention because he hadn't met me yet. Now that I'm here, he won't even look at her. Su Fu, I'll go much farther than you ever could. She was full of confidence. But things didn't go the way she imagined. The emperor made her a palace attendant. Every day she stood beside him, serving tea, grinding ink,
Holding the fan.
preparing meals. Before the first day was even over, she was already in tears. "Your Majesty, I can't do this anymore." He looked genuinely confused. "Wasn't it your wish? You wanted to stay by my side." Well, he wasn't wrong. Maybe if she stayed close long enough, feelings would eventually grow. Su Wan gritted her teeth and endured. She still believed she could win his heart. A few days later, I brought soup to the emperor. Mostly because I wanted to see how Su Wan was doing. His chief attendant was scolding her. "The ink is too thin. You rushed the grinding. How is His Majesty supposed to use this?" Su Wan knelt on the cold stone floor. Her hands were clenched so tightly they had turned white. Her eyes were red. Dark circles covered her face. She looked exhausted. "It was my mistake." The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up with hope. I hid my confusion behind a smile. "Your Majesty, I brought you some soup." He set down the document in his hand. "You don't have to bring it yourself. The maids can do that." I smiled sweetly. "But if I don't come, I won't get to see Your Majesty." He gave a simple nod. "Well, you've seen me. You may go now." That was fast. Still, seeing how miserable Su Wan looked made the trip worthwhile. She lasted only 1 month. Then my father personally asked the emperor to bring her into the imperial harem. After all, he was the prime minister. The emperor gave him some face. "Very well. Su Wan may enter the palace. She'll start at the lowest noble rank. Lady Su, collect the freshest morning dew for me tomorrow. And make sure it's fresh. Lady Su, I've been feeling uneasy lately. Copy these prayer scriptures for me. I want them finished in 5 days. Lady Su, I heard you're good at playing the zither. Play something for us. Let's enjoy a little music." Consort Ning, Consort Jing, and Consort Lin took turns giving her orders. Su Wan was only the lowest-ranking consort. She had no choice but to obey. She swallowed her pride. Every day she looked like she was about to cry, like a flower soaked by the rain. She hoped the emperor would feel sorry for her. As summer faded, the air turned cool. One day in the imperial garden, a yellow ginkgo leaf drifted onto the stone path. Su Wan carefully picked it up. The maids exchanged confused looks. This story is produced exclusively by the YouTube channel Moonlit Stories. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. What was she doing? She gently blew the dust away and placed the leaf beneath the tree. "You should stay with your mother." Everyone went silent, including the emperor. Hidden nearby, the emperor watched her with an unreadable expression. The moment she looked up, hoping to meet his eyes, he turned around and walked away without a word. I almost laughed. She wanted to play the sweet, innocent girl. Too bad. I'd already taken that role. To stand out, she had to act even more innocent than I did. She overdid it. Instead of looking kind, she just looked strange. After that, no matter how hard she tried to get close to the emperor, he ignored her completely. He never even glanced her way. A few days later, we met on the palace road. I frowned at my shoes. "Oh no, my shoes are dirty." I looked at Su Wan with a sweet smile. "Big sister, you're always so thoughtful. Help me clean them." She froze. She might have been low-ranking, but she was still a consort. Making one consort clean another's shoes in public was pure humiliation. The servants all looked at her with sympathy.
I let my smile fill.
"What? Are my shoes too dirty for you?" Her eyes turned red. Slowly, she knelt. She took out a handkerchief and carefully wiped my shoes. Bit by bit, watching her kneel before me, I remembered everything. At home, she had treated me like I wasn't even human. She stepped on my back instead of using the footstool. In winter, she made me stand outside in the freezing wind while she stayed warm inside. At banquets, she tossed fruit peels and scraps into my hands instead of onto a plate. Little by little, she crushed every bit of my dignity. Back then, when my father sent me into the palace, I had actually believed his lies. I thought he truly wanted me to become empress. How foolish. Good thing I woke up. I quietly moved my foot forward, then gently lifted Su Ruan's chin with the tip of my shoe. I smiled. So, did you ever imagine this day would come? Hatred burned in her eyes. Her fists clenched tightly. Satisfied, I slowly stepped back. I couldn't push too far. My sweet image still had to stay intact. Su Ruan had already failed again, and again with the Emperor. She was almost out of hope. One more push, and she'd start looking for another ally. Autumn arrived. The imperial banquet welcomed the year's top scholars. The new champion entered wearing a crimson official robe. Elegant.
Calm.
As graceful as polished jade. Behind the pearl curtains, all the palace ladies secretly watched the banquet. He's so handsome. I wonder if he's married. Consort Jing sighed. Everyone nodded. Su Ruan glanced at me before speaking. He was supposed to be. What a pity. Consort Ning immediately grew curious. You know him? What happened? Su Ruan covered her mouth. Oh, I probably shouldn't say. That only made everyone more curious. They all urged her to continue. She looked at me with a fake smile. May I? I calmly sipped my tea. Go ahead. The young scholar was Xie Yan, my former fiancé. When I was hungry, he always climbed over the wall with my favorite pastries. Every birthday, he carved a little wooden gift for me by hand. Under the moonlight, he once promised to spend his whole life with me. Back then, I truly believed him. Su Ruan smiled. Consort Zhao and Lord Xie were once engaged. They grew up together. They were deeply in love. The room fell silent. Everyone looked at me. I lowered my eyes and calmly skimmed the foam from my tea. That's all in the past. Su Ruan clearly didn't believe me. Not long afterward, a maid accidentally spilled tea on my clothes. As I returned after changing, I ran into Xie Yan.
He hadn't changed.
Still as gentle as ever. Fu, are you doing well in the palace? I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Back then, my stepmother had broken off our engagement. She told everyone I looked down on his family. He refused to believe it. He came to see me in the pouring rain. They forced you. I know you wouldn't leave me like this. I forced myself to smile. I would. You're only the son of a small official. What kind of future could you give me? The palace is a much better choice. He stared at me in disbelief. I lower my head. My father had threatened Xie Yan's future. I had no choice. The rain poured down, yet he stood there for hours. He should have hated me. Instead, the first thing he asked today was whether I was happy. My eyes slowly turned red. I forced a smile. I'm doing well. His Majesty treats me very kindly. He looked straight into my eyes. You're lying.
No.
I wasn't. The Emperor had already given me more than anyone else in the palace. I didn't want to talk anymore, so I turned to leave. Soon after, a young attendant secretly handed me a letter. It was from Xie Yan. I never opened it. I watched it burn instead. But more letters kept coming.
Finally, he sighed.
Tell him to stop. If this happens again, I'll have no choice but to punish you. The attendant quickly knelt. Lord Xie only wishes to see your ladyship once. He says it's important. I frowned. What could a court official possibly have to discuss with a palace consort? The attendant lowered his voice. He says, he has evidence against the Prime Minister. That changed everything. I agreed to meet him. Standing outside the side hall, I hesitated before pushing open the door. Xie Yan looked up. His eyes lit up. Fu. I cut him off. Let's skip the greetings. What evidence do you have? He looked confused. What? I thought you were the one who asked to see me. My heart sank. It was a trap. The doors suddenly flew open. Standing outside was the Emperor. Beside him stood Su Ruan. She was smiling like she'd already won. Consort Zhao. You actually met your former fiancé here. Having a secret meeting with another man in the palace? This crime cannot be forgiven. Su Ruan raised her voice, trying to decide my fate on the spot. I looked tired. Seriously? Was this the best she could do? I calmly bowed. Your Majesty, Lady Su, why are you both here? Su Wan was about to mock me, but then she saw the people standing inside the hall. Her expression froze. Why are there so many people? Standing there were the 10 senior matrons the Emperor had given me. They stood in a perfect line.
Calm. Orderly.
Completely destroying her plan. After all, to catch 2 people secretly meeting, you need 2 people, not a whole crowd. I calmly explained. The ancestor worship ceremony is next month. Some pages of the royal family records were damaged by moisture. I invited Lord Xia here to help repair them. He's the youngest scholar in the academy. I took out the damaged records as proof. Su Wan immediately objected. Impossible. You were clearly meeting him secretly. The emperor glanced at Xia Yan. His expression was calm and honest. Not even a trace of panic. If this was a secret meeting, would Consort Zhao bring so many people? I already mentioned the repair work to my colleagues. They can testify if needed. I was slightly surprised. So Xia Yan had prepared an explanation too. But if anyone investigated further, why would we choose a hidden side hall inside the palace to repair documents? The emperor suddenly reached out. His cold fingers lifted my chin. Interesting. I never knew my consort Zhao was this hardworking. She would personally handle such a boring task as repairing royal records. I forced myself to stay calm. Recently, I kept losing card games to consorts Ning and Jing. They gave me this responsibility as punishment. His eyes became colder. The air around him felt heavy. I thought he would investigate everything, but after a moment,
He released me.
then casually said, Lady Su falsely accused Consort Zhao. Send her to the cold palace. Those few words decided Su Ruan's future. She fell to her knees. Your Majesty, I only reported what I heard. I didn't know it was false. Tears streamed down her face. She crawled forward. Your Majesty, I saved you when we were children. Please forgive me this once. The emperor looked at her. Because of that past, you're still alive. The attendants dragged her away. I quietly let out a breath. So Xia Yan's letter wasn't real. Someone had pretended to be him. I understood immediately. Then I simply played along. If someone wanted to trap me, I'd make sure they fell into their own trap. 1 hour later, the palace was filled with a heavy smell of blood. It lingered in the air. My maid Xiao Tao looked pale. Your ladyship, His Majesty just punished more than 20 palace servants. I was shocked. Why? Did he say what they did? She shook her head. Before I could ask more, a loud voice came from outside. The emperor has arrived. The door opened silently. The night wind entered with the scent of blood. The emperor walked in wearing dark robes with golden patterns. He raised his hand. Xiao Tao immediately bowed and left.
Then
He looked at me. The way he stared at me, it felt like a hunter examining his prey. Cold sweat formed on my back. For the first time, I truly understood. This was the man everyone feared. The legendary tyrant. Your Majesty, did something happen? Why are you looking at me like that? His voice was low, almost like he was talking to himself. What should I do with you? Kill you. Or kill you. Was that even a choice? I immediately stepped forward and hugged him. Your Majesty, are you still suspicious of me and Xia Yan? I've been wronged ever since I entered the palace and met you. My heart has belonged only to you. Even in my dreams, I only see you. If there's still room in my heart for another man, you can punish me right now. I had to show my loyalty. So, I raised my hand, pretending I was about to prove myself. Luckily, the emperor grabbed my wrist instantly. His expression softened. Your eyes are so beautiful. Why would I let you hurt them? I looked up at him. My eyes were red.
tears gathered.
I looked completely heartbroken. Your Majesty, my feelings for you are real. Even heaven and earth can prove it. He gently patted my back. All right, I believe you. Finally, I survived. After that day, the emperor changed. He stayed at Yonghe Palace every night. I couldn't help but complain softly. Your Majesty, there are many other consorts. You should treat everyone fairly. His eyes darkened. Fu, didn't you say you liked me? How can you push me toward other women? I immediately stopped talking. Soon after, the decree came. I was to become empress. The palace servants knelt and congratulated me. Congratulations, Your Majesty the Empress. I stood there in disbelief. Was it really this easy? To become empress?
Maybe.
When a ruler truly favors someone, the throne beside him already belongs to that person. The coronation ceremony began. Music filled the hall. The phoenix crown glittered. Everything was perfect until a sharp sound of weapons suddenly echoed. Then came the sound of marching soldiers. I looked up. The western palace doors were smashed open. Prince 8, Xiao Ji, entered wearing armor. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Behind him, my father, the prime minister, followed. His face carried years of resentment. The emperor killed his own family to take the throne. His rule has brought endless suffering. He is nothing but a tyrant. My father raised his hand. Soldiers flooded into the hall. We are not rebelling. We only ask the emperor to step down and give the throne to someone worthy. Beautiful words. But the truth? The emperor had spent years weakening powerful families. Recently, he had taken back important business rights from the nobles. My family's power had been shrinking. At first, when I became empress, my father could still endure. But I ignored every letter he sent. A useless daughter, who wouldn't protect the family, was no longer worth keeping. In this crisis, the emperor turned to me. Empress, who will you choose? Me or the Su family? I almost laughed. Was that even a question? After all this time, had he still suspected that I was my father's pawn? This man was even more suspicious than anyone I knew. I held his hand. 14th. I choose you. The emperor finally relaxed. He squeezed my hand tightly. I believe you. At that moment, a group of guards brought Su Wan forward. She looked at me with hatred. You're still acting loving when you're about to die? Father, Prince 8. I suffered in the cold palace because of Su Fu. I want her to pay. I want her to regret ever being born. Xiao Ji held her close and comforted her. I immediately hid behind the emperor. Your Majesty, I'm scared. The emperor smiled slightly. Then close your eyes, Empress. The moment he finished speaking, thousands of royal guards surrounded the entire hall. A perfect trap. The emperor laughed softly. You know how I became emperor. How dare you challenge me? The soldiers who followed my father and Prince 8 dropped their weapons one after another. They surrendered. The emperor covered my eyes with his hand. His voice remained calm. Leave no one behind. Cries filled the hall. I felt no joy, only fear. The emperor was terrifying.
Maybe.
I really would have to keep pretending to be the innocent, harmless girl forever.
Thank you for listening to Moonlit Stories. What makes this story unforgettable is not just the battle for power, but the complicated bond between Su Fu and the emperor. She entered the palace with a hidden plan, pretending to be innocent just to survive. But little by little, the emperor, who trusted no one, began to see the sincerity behind her disguise. Their relationship is full of suspicion, testing, and unexpected tenderness. Two people who were both afraid of being betrayed slowly became the only person each other could trust. Thank you for staying with me until the end. I hope this story brought you a moment of excitement and emotion. See you next time on Moonlit Stories. Goodbye.